The first talk will be delivered by Ms. Tim Wangst. And my topic is how ultrasound helps clinicians and the patients. I believe that all of you are familiar with these topics. It may be boring for you, since most of you has many experience. So please forget me, because I had no choice. I was assigned to talk one topic in this conference by Professor Chen Wenxiang, the General Secretary of our society. He said, as the President of Taiwan Society of Neuromuscular Ultrasound, I cannot just sit here and listen. I have the obligation to give a talk. And the only talk I can say is the general introduction. That's why I use this topic. I believe you're very familiar, but I just give a general introduction. And the details, I believe our speakers will talk in the later sections. So this is my disclosures. There is no any financial interest in the topic discussed in the lectures. And my president assignment is Professor of National Taiwan University, and the Vice Superintendent of National Taiwan Hospital, and the President of Taiwan Society of Neuromuscular Ultrasound. So the Taiwan ultrasound, diagnostic ultrasound, developed as early as 1994, and from the Professor Chong Wang. He is the orthopedic doctor and teaching us ultrasound. Use the cadaver you can find in here. This is the Professor Chong Wang. He is the true pioneer of neuromuscular ultrasound in Taiwan. We cannot neglect and forget his contribution to the development of Taiwan neuromuscular ultrasound. And he just retired from our hospitals, but still very active in this field. I see him in our audience. Professor Wang, please give here a great applause there. And he's my teacher in all the Taiwan. I believe most use the ultrasound learn from him. And how ultrasound can help clinicians practicing neuromuscular disorder? I think that you can have disease diagnosis and direct treat patients. When we're talking about the disease diagnosis, use ultrasound, we can diagnose more precisely, and we can find the true pathophysiologist, and we can early diagnosis. For the diagnosis precisely, I will take the example of supraspinal tendon problems. Supraspinal tendon problem is very common in the shoulder pain patient, especially in the athletics. And when we suspect the patient has supraspinal tendinitis, we will do the antigen test. It's very famous. And when the antigen test is positive, we know the patient has supraspinal tendon problems. That everyone knows that. But the supraspinal tendon problem from the antigen test progress is the supraspinal tendon tendinitis. It could be a supraspinal tendon tendinosis. It could be supraspinal tendon tears. It could be supraspinal tendon calcification, or even it could be the subdeltoid bursitis. And we all know that different diagnoses have different treatment. For example, for the supraspinal tendinitis, I will ask the patient to rest and maybe some medication because there are inflammations. We can use non-steroidal inflammation drug for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. For supraspinal tendinosis, it's no inflammation, it's just a degeneration. So I may try prolotherapy. We know a lot of prolotherapy. The most simple one, you get injection maybe 25% glucose water. You can use shockwave therapy, or even you can use the PRP. For the supraspinal tendon, operation may be a choice if the patient repeat the attack and have no good result from any kind of treatment. For the calcification, I believe shockwave can have very good effect. For the subdeltoid bursitis, we need aspiration and do the local injection. So the different diagnosis, they have different treatment. Then we use ultrasound, we cannot just physically measure to find the supraspinous head problem. We can define what the problem is. So we go back to here. That is the supraspinal tendinitis. You can find the patient has hypoechoic of the tendon, And there's some blood flow here, so it's the supraspinal tendinitis. For these cases, I will give some medication and aspiration for 2 or 3 weeks. This is supraspinal tendinosis. You can see the hypoechoic change. Then there is no any blood flow. So I will perform the prolotherapy depending on the patient's need. Then it's supraspinal calcification. The patient accepts and has symptom, we may try the shockwave therapies. Then this is the forcing state of supraspinatus. If patient under resting, still repeated pain, and we don't have good method to solve the problem, I may try to ask the patient to the orthopedics and consider operations. This subdeltoid bursitis. For this kind of patient, is the best way to just doing the aspiration and injection steroid. The effect will be dramatic. So use ultrasound, the general, we can diagnose disease more precisely. We know what is the problem and what the stage of disease, and we can treatment in the best way of the patients. More than that, the ultrasound can find the true pathophysiologist of the patient. For example, the supraspinal tendinitis tendinosis. Then we'll think about why the patient will have the supraspinal lesion. Of course, it can be from one trauma, but most of patients not from trauma, from the repeated injury. And the most repeated injury is from the impingement. When we on to the traditional imaging, we know impingement. Even the MRI, how can you diagnose impingement? We will find the prominent acromions. Probably you find the hypertrophy of supraspinal tendon. Probably find the distension of subdeltoid bursa or supraspinal tendinitis or tears. When you see the image, we may diagnose patient have impingement. But at this stage, it's a late stage. It's a result. It's not the reason. So it's possible we can diagnose early for the impingement. For example, this is the acromion. This is the human head. A lot of impingement is from when you're doing the shoulder open activity. The human head will upward migration and touch the acromion, then cause the supraspinal tendon damage. Some of them is from there the bursa in here. So the bursa will impinge. So we can use a dynamic examination like this one. You can see when move up, then there's a bursa going out. So the gentleman is from the bursitis caused impingement. But not everyone likes sweat. Several years ago, I had Dr. Wu doing some research about the coracoid acromion ligament displacement when you doing the shoulder overhead activities. When the ask patient is doing the overhead activity, we measurement the acromion and the coracoid plus ligament displacement. When human head will upward movement more, then the displacement will going up. So we can more early diagnosis of the young ascetics may have abnormal human head movement, especially when you doing the overhead activity. They may use a lot of deltoid muscle to use human head upward migrations. And we do found some very interesting result. That's the research we done. We found some of the ascetics, when they're doing the overhead activity, their human head or upward migration. Even they may have clinical no any symptom sign, but after all, when you follow up, you will find the patient may have the shoulder pain. So if we training the ascetic, their shoulder depressor muscle like infraspinatus, then we may prevent the supraspinatus doing the impingement and cause later on the damage. So use the dynamic study, we can early diagnose the problem and know the real pathologist and treat the pathology. Then probably we can prevent further injury. Not only this one, use ultrasound, you can early diagnose. I will take the example of sonography. This is sonography of the plantar fascia. In the clinical, we find some patient there's a plantar fascia. Regular, you can find some plantar fascia became thickest and hypoechoic. But still some patient we didn't find that. Then we do the sonography. We found their plantar fascia became softer. And we found probably the patient plantar fascia softer is an early sign of plantar fasciitis. It's in this stage we treat the patient. Maybe the patient had no the morphology change, just tissue characteristic changes. The following is some research we're doing the publication for the sonography of the plantar fascias. We do found there's some patient, not always everyone, they have some early plantar fasciitis. We can find the softening of plantar fascia. And when we do the shockwave therapy of the plantar fascia, with the patient symptom relief, some of them, the plantar fascia will become harder, like the original one, but never return to normal state. So we know, use ultrasound, we can more early diagnose the disease. So ultrasound can diagnose disease more precisely, more find the true pathophysiology, make early diagnosis. With this one, we can more early treat the patient, and of course later on complications. Also, of course, sonar guide can do the injection and direct treat the patient. I believe today you are listening a lot of cases for this one. Use sonar guide injection, you can increase the accuracy than the patient guided injections. You can avoid to hurt the surrounding tissue than the bride. We don't say bride injection, maybe just patient injections. You can easy, portable, and cheap when compared to other guide injection like MRI or CT. So this is an example of the accuracy of granular hemorrhageal injection. I think there's a lot of paper like this one. I don't say so much. I just examples them. If you use patient guide, cadaver study or anterior approach of granular hemorrhageal joint, the accuracy is from the 28% to 96%, depending on the skier. So it's depending on the personnel. But use ultrasound guide, you have 94% success rate in the first attempt. If you have some trainings, everything can do very well. So I think ultrasound guide treatment can improve our accuracy very well. This example of sonar guide for the aspiration of subdiatory bursa. You can find we put on the needle into the subdiatory bursa. Then we can aspiration the fluid. Even the fluid maybe just 2 or 3 cc. But when you injection, aspirate this one, and doing the local injection of steroid, the patient pain will improve very, very much. This is another example of sonar guide aspirational classification. This is the classification cyst. Then we can put on the needle in. Then you can see the aspiration out, the classifications. And when application out, you can see like a miracle lights. Regularly, like this one, in the subdiatory bursa, patient will very painful. When aspiration and doing some steroid injection, patient pain will relieve very much. And even we can doing some irrigational classification. You can find this small classification spot in here, but you don't easy to aspiration out. So regularly we can put on some normal saline into and use the neck pressure to suction out the fluid. So we can see like this way. We just put on some normal settings, then expansion, then the small crystal get outside. Of course, you need a little bit bigger needle. So this is typical we're doing. When you just put the needle in, out, then the water get in and get out. You can see, you look very careful. You can see, originally this is very white. Then there's some particle, calcified particle in here. When you get out, you will find the needle became some calcification in here. So you can like irrigation to put the calcification spot outside. Of course, you can do the hydrodissection of nerve. I believe you also can listen a lot of lecture about this one. You can put the needle here, this median nerve, then you can put in, just use the maybe 5% goose water from Dr. Wu, and then you can hydrodissection nerve in the carpal tunnel syndrome is the most common process in here. You can hydrodissection for factor. This is the research done by Professor Wu Jiehong. They just insertion the needle into the suprascapular for the pain, and they found out you can just one needle to block trigger point and some small nerve in the suprascapular areas. Okay. So you can see the right upper back and neck pain areas in your limb max. So you can injection the supraspinal accessory nerves, dorsoscapular nerve, upper trapezius muscle, levatoscapular muscle, and rhomboid minor muscle, just in one needle in. So this is the article published in the AZPMR. Also, this you can do the also guide operation. This is from the Professor Zhou Yimi, and he will give a lecture tomorrow. And use the sonar guide to reduce the A1 pool list that published in 2006. I think this is the only one we cannot do in our hospital. It's performed by the Professor Zhou Yimi. He will give you a lecture about how to use the sonar guide operation in tomorrow's. Also, ultrasound can do it as the biofeedback in the physiatrist. As we know, for the patient low back pain, the core muscle is very important. In the abdominal muscle, the famous rectus abdominalis muscle in here. Then there are three muscles in here. This is external oblique muscle, this internal oblique, this transverse abdominal muscles. When you're doing some training, most of the time we are training the rectus abdominalis, external oblique, and the internal oblique. But we know the most important for the core muscle is transverse abdominalis. In the tradition, how can training the transverse abdominalis? The field therapy use hand to feeding the patient movement. Actually, they don't activate the external oblique, internal oblique, but the transverse abdominalis. But it's not so easy. So use ultrasound. You know this is the rectus abdominalis. This external oblique, internal oblique, this is transverse abdominalis. You can see the screen and ask the patient, just contracting this muscle and not these two muscles. Like this one, you can see this external oblique, internal oblique, this transverse abdominalis. So these two muscles not contract so much, but transverse abdominalis will contraction very well. For the biofeedback, so we try to do a device and put on the transducer here, like this way, and put on the patient abdomen. Then the patient can use the biofeedbacks as training the transverse abdominalis. This is performed by the physiotherapist. So it's not only diagnosis, it's also biofeedback to train the patients. And that's my last slide, because I have 3 minutes left. And the last, I will thank you, our team, the NTVH Conference Center teams. There are so many physiatrists, young physiatrists, they're working together. Without their help, we cannot have achievement today. And lastly, I think Taiwan is a very beautiful island. We have very beautiful scenery. It's a mountain, seaside, and we also have very good food. Different food. I hope you can enjoy the conference and also enjoy the Taiwan beautiful scenery and the wonderful stage. And this is my last slide. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.